What's up, everybody? Ariya Massoudi here for Tuck Talk. Another episode we always love to talk about Florida State men's and women's basketball. And right now, the update for the men, we wanted to do just a quick episode. And really, all this episode is previewing the NC State game. And then, of course, we always love to do player interviews. And we got a pretty good one this week with MJ Walker, the senior out of the state of Georgia, the Atlanta area. And he's been such a pleasure to cover over the last few years. And me and him had a pretty good, open and honest conversation. But if you've been keeping up with Florida State basketball, men and women, really, a lot of postponements. And it's just inevitable that with the COVID-19 spikes that we would have just a lot of issues in college basketball this year. Bob and I have always talked about it. I'm actually doing this episode solo just so we can do a quick one and get to MJ, who had a really, really nice conversation with me. But Florida State hasn't played. The men haven't played since December 29th when they lost to Clemson, and they are getting set to play NC State tomorrow or tonight, depending on when you listen to this podcast. And it'll be nice to see FSU basketball back on the court. It has been about 2 weeks, and I have some concerns with where Florida State is right now in terms of conditioning. Are they in basketball shape? This is an NC State team that has actually been able to play a relatively normal schedule. They played on January 5th and on January 9th. They are on a 2-game losing streak, and we'll preview them after we get to MJ. But I will be interested to see how Florida State comes out in this matchup against the Wolfpack, because Coach Hamilton actually alluded to a couple of different changes that he was going to make after the Clemson game, especially defensively. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll preview, like I said, the Wolfpack after we talk to MJ Walker, who was kind enough to join us here on Tuck Talk for this episode. MJ, first off, man, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Always love having you on to talk some FSU basketball. So appreciate you coming.
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right, so let's jump right into first off you. You've come in now. We talked in the past, and you mentioned that your path was always going to be different, that you had to embrace that your path was not going to be the same as other people, and that your maturity as you were at Florida State really increased over the years. One of those things that I've noticed this year for you is your ability to become a leader. How have you embraced that role in kind of guiding some of these younger guys, and especially after having, T-Man and Trent Forrest to kind of lead the way for the past few years?
It's been interesting. Personally, it's I had to adjust a lot. Just from, having the luxury to, play with those guys, and, I can feel like I could play free in a sense of basically not having to worry about, certain things on the floor you probably could take for granted. You know what I'm saying? That, just having a different crew now and younger players being able to be in that teaching role and, letting them know in the situation and off the court, it's kind of just stand on them in the sense of kind of different than how it's been in the past, just because we just have guys in the system for a while. And we kind of all understood each other. So I've kind of really embracing it. It's definitely, I won't say taking me out of my comfort zone, but it's definitely been a challenge in the sense of just adapting to that role, just because I've always had to just, I just show up and we already knew what the job was. It's a little different now, but especially with the pandemic, that's probably been the most challenging thing, because we didn't have our whole summer to really dial into all the details like how we usually have in the past. And, we got less games this year, so we didn't have those games at the beginning of the season to kind of get that experience early, especially with tournament play. I feel like that's huge, just because when we go in tournaments like ACC tournament, March Madness, just that momentum that you have in tournaments like that, that experience is well needed. But it's tough, but I've been embracing it. We've all been adapting on the fly, and I'm not taking it for granted, man. I think it's probably the best. This is probably the most challenging way for me to adapt and continue to get better. So, I'm embracing it. And like I said, I'm enjoying it, man. So
And I love that you mentioned that this is just such a strange time for all of you. I mean, how much as a locker room do you guys have to embrace that this is about being a finished product in the end? Like this season, maybe, and you look around the country, Kentucky started 1-6, Duke lost twice on its home court. It's happening everywhere. I mean, teams are just not, this isn't normal. Like you mentioned, you guys didn't have the off seasons and the buildup to get to where you guys want to get to right now. But that doesn't necessarily mean by March that you guys can't be where you want to be. How have you been, and maybe some of the older guys in the locker room too, been trying to just preach that, yes, we want to win every game right now, but it's about getting better and making sure that when it counts, because you guys, your group has been through a lot. I mean, you guys have been through every type of game.
Yes, sir. Every type of game. I mean, Jesus. I mean, like you said, man, it's tough, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I mean, we as seniors, you know what I'm saying, especially as 4-year guys on the team, like we already know we've been in situations like this all the time. I mean, my freshman year, we started off 1-4 in the conference, you know what I'm saying? And here we are in the Elite Eight. Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So, like, we know how it goes. Like, freshman year, we down to Clemson 20 points at halftime. We come back, win an overtime game. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, we've been in all type of situations, man. Like, you know, I can't even explain them, but I try to tell them all the time, like, it's easy to get caught up in the now. Basically, like, when we lost 2 games, we got outplayed, but you know that's part of our journey. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna need stuff like that. I mean, you understand, you know, what you got to bring every game because this ain't high school. You know what I'm saying? To where, you know what I'm saying, you don't have to play as hard. You still win. You still get 20 points. You still get to your 10 rebounds. You all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, each and every game, somebody's coming after you. They don't care who you are. So it's just that building that mentality throughout the team, learning how to play hard. A lot of guys haven't really learned how to really play hard for real, you know, especially at Florida State. So that's another challenge too, that we're, as a collective group, that we're learning how to do. And as leaders, we got to learn how to, we gotta stay on the gas all the time. Like, can't take our foot off the gas, man. Like, I mean, it's like I said, the luxury we've had in the past. You know, a lot of times we can kind of, you know what I'm saying, I don't want to say cruise, but, you know, we play hard, but we had so many guys that understood, you know what I'm saying, our system. Not saying the talent was that we've always had. We have talent this year. I feel like we have better talent than last year. But, I mean, it's like, you know, you got to learn, like Coach Jones said, you got to learn the system first before you get to play out of it. You know what I'm saying? It can be who you are. So that's the biggest thing I say, man. Like, we basically been preaching to the guys, like, you know, don't worry about, you know, what's going on right now. Don't worry about the, you know, okay, we lost 2 games. That's fine. It's part of it. But, you know, we're going to probably lose another one. You know, I mean, who knows? You know what I'm saying? So we're going to be in another dogfight in the future. So, you know, you just got to keep that mindset of just keep getting 1% better every day. Learn from the last game, pick up from it, come back and practice the next day, give it your all next game. Let's try this again, but let's be way better than we were last game. You know what I'm saying? Let's try to do something different. You know what I'm saying? The sense of our mentality, because we got the physical, but it's really the mental for us right now. So, you know, I think that's the biggest thing for us. Just continue to preach that and knowing that at the end of the year, we're going to be right where we want to be if we keep our mind in the right place. So,
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that your freshman year, because that team lost, I think, 11 games. And I think right before the tournament, Louisville put a hurting on y'all in the ACC tournament. So I don't think there was, you know, right. So then you go into the tournament, before you know it, you're knocking off Xavier and you're beating Gonzaga. And that's basketball. I think you're mature enough, you know, and Turk and Anthony and even Malik was in the program at the time. There's some maturity that, hey, it's not really a sprint. It's more of a marathon to kind of get to where you want to go. I guess I do want to ask you though, because playing games is important to get to that goal. How weird has this been the last couple of weeks for you guys you had multiple games taken away off the schedule. How have you tried to stay in shape? How have you and the group tried to stay as physically possible to be where you guys need to be when you guys do get to come back and play?
I mean, it was, we kind of had a plan already, you know, and still before, like when situations like this come up, we kind of, our weight training coach, Coach B, Coach Bradley, he does a good job of sending us workouts throughout the break. Like when we had those 7 days off, we were doing something every single day. He had a workout for us. We either run the garages, do sprints, up the garages, would jog. And obviously we were doing everything social distance. So he was just saying, making sure everybody, do their own little workout. Don't be in a collective group and everything. But, we was every single day we had something planned that we stuck to, to make sure that we were, in shape and didn't lose our fatigue. So, the only thing when we came back to practice, the only thing I said was different. That ball was not going in the rim the first practice, just because we ain't had no ball, man. But the fatigue I felt like was there a little bit, but I think we did a good job on the off days. But like I said, it's still weird though. Everything, the canceling the games, we getting prepared for Duke. Kind of felt like Clemson last year. You know what I'm saying? Where they canceled the game. Literally, we're there, and they canceled it. And this one was we're getting ready, we're getting our mind right the day before the game. We're reading the scouting report, we're having our meetings, and we get a call 11 o'clock at night, game canceled. We on the Zoom call, and then told we can't do nothing for 7 days. So it's almost like you said, everything we're adapting on the fly. We just like, okay, well, we can't get emotional. The season ain't over. We can't just be like, dang, man, I'm sick of this. Like, we can't even, you got to stay, what's the next thing? So that was really our mindset going into that. And I think we did a pretty good job. Since we had the gym back, we just been pushing it, trying to sharpen our iron and just getting ready for the next one. So
I was having a conversation with a few of my buddies just a couple weeks ago, and they were asking me, what's it like when you have these conversations with the athletes and the student athletes? Have they been able to tell you what it's like to go to school right now in the middle of a pandemic? And for young people your age, 18 to 23 years old,
yeah,
it's just like you're used to a certain way, right? You're used to being able to go out with your boys if you want to on a Friday night to just relax. You're used to getting up and doing your grind together. You're used to being able to go to class and walk into class and eat when you need to eat and all these different things that have been kind of taken away from you. And people don't realize like relationships that kids are going through too, like on top of basketball. So like, can you in your words explain just like being a student athlete, and this could be more than just basketball, being a student athlete during a pandemic, just how hard has it been to just adjust? I mean, in life in general.
It's tough, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, the online, we kind of been doing the online thing already. We've had classes on campus along with online, but at the same time, man, it's, that interacting with, being able to go on campus, just walking outside, you know what I'm saying? That relieves just a lot of stress, being able to just look around, you know what I'm saying? You see the shorties on campus, you see, they got the stuff, Market Wednesday going on, playing the music, during the week on campus. So just having that college feel, it's taken away from in a sense. So we kind of figuring out how to build our own energy in a sense outside of doing that and with school and everything. And it's it takes a toll on you, but like you said, like I said, we kind of just adapting, like trying to find ways to continue to be like, productive and keep our energy, keep our peace. So it's tough, man. At the academic part of it, I always wanted online classes, you know what I'm saying? Just because you hate getting up, going on campus, and you got to walk here, walk there. Now we complain about our legs, and now we got online, now we want to go back on campus, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird. It's funny at the same time, though, but I've adjusted. I feel like we all adjusted pretty well to it. Just, like I said, taking it for what it is and continue to move on, trying to protect our peace and our mental, stay strong mentally, and just continue to adapt. So, yeah,
there's no doubt. I'm sure having each other, helps that just a little bit, being tight knit. But I was thinking about Scotty the other day and thinking about, I just don't know that this is what he imagined college would be like when he decided when he thought he was coming here for 1 year. And this is a completely different experience than what he's used to. But speaking of Scotty, how has it been for you to mentor him? Because everyone knows his talent, right? Like we've seen it already this year. There are moments that a guy who's 6'9" who does things that most 6'9" people can't do. And so the talent's there. How have you guys tried to hone that in and kind of guide him to make sure he gets the most out of the development process that he has with your basketball team in college and making sure that he contributes to the way that you guys play?
Yeah, I mean, Scotty, man, he a freak of nature, man. I mean, his wingspan, all that stuff just speaks for itself. But I think the most challenging thing from high school to college is one, being able to put yourself on a constant routine that you can rely on every day to basically be in the best mental frame first, and then be able to produce consistently night in, night out on the court. And then I'll say eating right. That's another one that I kind of feel like that's kind of you got to learn as a freshman coming in, being able to know how to eat, when to eat throughout the day, what to eat. You know what I'm saying? And those are things that we kind of preaching to Scotty. You know what I mean? Because we've all been there. I mean, we all didn't know it all as a freshman. So we're just preaching to him those things. Film has definitely been a thing that we've been harping on a lot. And watching it with Scotty, me and him watch film a lot, especially after the games. And the ones we lose, we kind of really hone in on what we could have done better. And him personally as a player, I feel like he can be way more effective on the court just because of his length, and he should be having 10 blocks, 10 rebounds a game. You know what I mean? Like easy. You know what I'm saying? But he's just young and figuring it almost like a deer just running, don't know what's going on, man, but just, you know what I'm saying? He got all the tools are there. It's just a matter of being consistent on everything and keeping him in the right mind frame. So, I feel like he's doing a great job, honestly, especially with the situation given with COVID and everything, and not learning the system in the summer and doing everything on the fly, and then going from a power forward to a point guard. You know what I mean? So that's probably the most challenging thing I think a guard or power forward could do, going from high school to college. So for him to be able to adapt while still producing on the floor, that speaks volumes on the type of player he is. So, I think he's doing a great job. And like I said, we having our patience with him, and he's been open to listen to us and continue to get better. So as long as he keep doing that, man, who knows? I mean, he could be one of the greats for real.
Yeah, and he's in a good spot right now at Florida State. I mean, you guys, your program knows how to not only take in one and dones and those types of elite talents, but also development. And so that takes me to my next question of what's it been like for you as a teammate of Devin, of Trent, of Pat, seeing them in the NBA this year and doing the things that they're doing? I mean, just the other night, Pat was guarding LeBron and he had a couple of blocks on him. I mean, do you as a teammate, how much pride do you take in that, and how excited are you for those guys?
Man, it almost like, I won't say I get emotional, but because I kind of I knew it was on the work that they put in and everything that they've done and their focus when they were here, and just their raw talent was going to show one day. I knew that was going to happen, but just actually seeing it, on TV just puts a stamp on everything, and kind of just like, I feel like a fan, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like these was my teammates. Now I'm like, I was a fan on why they was here, but it's almost like a whole nother level now. The pride is different. So, I'm excited. I'm so excited to see them, man. It's just a blessing and makes you motivated as a player, just to continue to put that work in, because, those guys are getting it done, man. It's literally like a blessing to see them on that stage and doing what they're doing. And I'm just proud of them personally, man, because, man, all the hours and shit, the time, the meetings, the trips out of town, on the road, on the plane, all that stuff, hours and hours of stuff you don't even realize pass by. And, it's paid off for them, man. So I'm so glad to see them. I just hope they get everything they deserve, man.
Yeah, and I know you're a big Braun guy. I know LBJ is one of your guys. That's one of your favorites. What did you see? Did you see Pat manning him up? I mean, did that just bring you to just? I mean, I was hooping and hollering when he blocked him. That is big time.
Facts. I mean, Braun spoke highly of him after the game, man. He was saying how long he was and his hands and stuff like that. He was kind of comparing him to Kawhi in a sense. So, I mean, that's tough, man. I mean, Pat held his own. You asked me, he held his own, especially 19 years old, man. Come on now.
And his body looked almost as physically mature as LeBron's did. And that to me was like, in 5 years, Pat Williams is going to be on another level. from other people. Last question I want to ask you, MJ, before I let you go. You got to let the fans know what's on the playlist right now. What do they need to be listening to? What are they tuning into?
Oh, man. What I'm listening to right now. Let's see. I've been listening to a lot of Lil Baby. I mean, I'm still on Lil Baby and who is it? Lil Baby and the Baby. That's what I've been listening to the most. So, man, they got a couple new albums out. I think Lil Durk about to drop a deluxe. So y'all tune in, man. It's the vibe.
Now, MJ Walker over here. If you want music advice, if you want album advice, you go to MJ, and he's also pretty good at basketball as well. MJ, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you as always. Best of luck on your senior year, and hopefully you get back out there soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Go Noles.
All right. Appreciate MJ for joining us on this podcast. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk to these athletes and to get their perspective on the season. I think that's what makes this podcast so unique as compared to some of the other podcasts that are out there covering Florida State basketball, is that we do get exclusive interviews with the players and the coaches. And so I really love that MJ talked about just the student athlete life right now with COVID going on. They're just having to adapt to different things, whether it's going to class, whether it's going around campus and being able to do the normal things that you would usually do to get away from basketball, whether that's even, going out with his boys on a Friday or a Saturday when they're not having a game, and being able to just relax and just kind of be college athletes. I think a lot of people have maybe overestimated, or maybe even, let's say, underestimated. That's the better word here. With the way I want to present this, is that I think there's just not a lot of thought going into these kids. They are kids, 18 to 22, 23 years old. Absolutely, they're still young and learning, and trying to get away from basketball can be really tough, and that's a grind in its own right. And a lot of players love it, but they do need a break. And I think COVID's made it tough. It's made it tough on kids to have normal college lives. And so this is really difficult for them to practice for a few days and then be out for a couple of weeks, or practice and get ready for a game only to have that game plan scrapped. And who knows if you'll postpone it. So we do appreciate MJ coming on this podcast and definitely giving some insight onto how they've been able to get Scotty Barnes up to par and to try and teach him as much as they can in the 1 year that he's going to be in Tallahassee. I mean, he's a lotto pick for a reason, and he's shown that in flashes. But also love that MJ touched on his own development and how, everyone's path is a little bit different. And then, of course, Pat, Devin, Trent, seeing those guys in the NBA. Maybe MJ could join them next year as well. We'll see if he can sneak there into that second round of the NBA draft this year. He's had a pretty solid season, I would say, a good season that we're still waiting on progression, right? Because we've only played so many games. And right now, Florida State has only played a total of 7 games, and it's just crazy to think about. But that is where we are in the college basketball landscape in terms of being allowed to play sports right now. And I think we're just all thankful for whatever we do get until those vaccines get here and are available to the general public. All right, so let's talk about NC State here. They are 6-3. Ken Palm has them at number 49 overall, a top 50 unit. The offense is 57th out of about 300 teams. The defense is 48th. So a really solid offensive and defensive team. Not fantastic, but they are decent. They do like to have some tempo. I'm looking at some of these games, and they've had a 79, 78, 77 possession game, which means they're going to want to run with Florida State. And Kevin Keats, their head coach, has always been a proponent of trying to actually play kind of similar to the way FSU plays, in that he wants to get up and down the court. He wants to be able to press you defensively, get high up in the passing lanes, and try and create turnovers that then fuel transition opportunities for the offense. So they do that actually pretty well. They're turning over opposing offenses about 26% of the possessions, which is top 10 in the country. So this is a team that really will try and turn Florida State over. And FSU has struggled at times this year protecting the basketball. So that's going to be a key for FSU, is to protect the basketball. They don't necessarily rebound the basketball too well on the glass. They're 114th in the country in offensive rebound rate. Defensively, they are in the red, 267th, so near the bottom of the NCAA in keeping opposing teams off the glass. Florida State's going to have to, I think, capitalize on the glass as well if they can, whether that's Malik Osborne, Raekwon Gray, Balsa, Koprivica, some of those guys that can get onto the offensive glass and get the Noles some second chance opportunities. NC State doesn't get to the line too frequently, and they are an awful free throw shooting team at just 66.5%. They do block a decent amount of shots. They get a lot of steals. They generate offense from their defense. A very good three-point shooting team as well, 36% as a team. That's top 75 in the country. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, I think, as well. Not a team that's going to shoot a ton of threes, but they can make them, and they do have a couple of guys that can shoot the basketball. Names that I think you guys, the fans listening to this have heard. Devin Daniels had a pretty good game against Florida State. He's shooting at only 30% from beyond the arc, but 6'5" senior, gets about 80% of the minutes, takes about, takes about a third of the shots, a quarter to a third of the shots for their team. Jericho Helms, another player that has really come on. Shaquille Moore, the freshman, has been pretty good for them. And then DJ Funderburk feels like he's been at NC State for 10 years, 6'10", 225, does get in a lot of foul trouble. And I remember last year against Florida State, he was actually playing pretty well, and the foul trouble really killed him. Manny Bates, really, really good rim protector, 6'11", 230-pound sophomore. He does as well of a job as anyone in the country, top 10 in the country in block shots. So the Noles will have to keep an eye on that. And then, of course, Braxton Beverly, another player who I feel like has been at NC State for a while. He's shooting at 38% from beyond the arc. And their best shooter is Thomas Allen, who is blistering right now, Anthony Polite level, 6'1", junior, 15 of 32, 47% from beyond the arc, and he is a transfer from Nebraska who is shot it pretty well in his career, 35% or higher from the Big 12, now the Big 10, I should say, Nebraska and the Big 10, now moving into the ACC. So, yeah, that's a pretty good little breakdown on NC State. They're going to want to run. It should be an up-and-down game. What I do worry about is Florida State hasn't played basketball in 2 weeks, and I wonder how that looks, especially early. And especially maybe in the last 8 minutes of that game, will Florida State be gassed, or will they be able to do what they've always done, and not as much this year, but wear teams down and be able to come away with a big victory? Ken Palm has Florida State favored by 4 in this one, 74-70. They're giving FSU a 64% chance to win this game at home. And, NC State's lost 2 in a row. They lost at Clemson in overtime, 74-70, and then they lost at home to Miami, which was a pretty bad loss for them, 64-59, just on Saturday. So NC State not playing too well, and we'll see. We'll see how this Florida State team responds. I'm really looking forward to seeing if the Noles can protect the basketball, crash the offensive glass, and can they get to the free throw line? I think that's going to be really important. I do like Florida State at home in this one. I think being in Tallahassee, Coach Hamilton says they've been able to work on a couple of different things in the off season. In this, it feels like an off season. In this off time, they've done a lot of Zoom. Have practiced now for 4 or 5 days after they were cleared from the COVID protocols. And so FSU back at home, they shoot the ball well in Tallahassee. They've done a good job from the 3-point line this year. Let's see if we can get some threes. Let's hit some shots from beyond the arc. Let's run up and down the court, and let's see if Leonard Hamilton has changed some defensive principles. It'll be really interesting, and something I'm keeping my eye on is FSU going to switch everything, or are the Noles going to play a more traditional defense? Something that we've seen from Leonard Hamilton in the past, namely 2011, 2012, when FSU was really good under Coach Hamilton. So that should do it for the podcast for this week. Wanted to keep it a little more brief, just myself on this time. I do need to mention one other thing before we go. Caleb Mills, the transfer from Houston, is committed to Florida State now. That is a big deal. The school hasn't announced it yet, but Caleb himself has already talked to Noles 24/7 and has given quotes on why he chose Florida State. So it seems pretty official. All that's left is for him to sign the ink and transfer to FSU. I believe he should be here probably soon. The academic semester just started, and I think he's originally from North Carolina, so Coach Hamilton pulling out the Gastonia stops there and getting his Carolina roots into play. Mills picked Florida State over North Carolina, Kentucky, some other schools that were trying to get him to transfer there, and he is a beast. 6'3" guard, plays more of a two-guard position, but shoots the basketball really well, is a offensive machine. So he was the AAC, not to be confused with the ACC, the American Conference, same conference as Memphis and UCF. He was the conference preseason player of the year coming into this year. So this is a pretty big deal. I am really excited about this pickup for FSU. Unfortunately, he's not immediately eligible for this season, but he will be eligible next season and not have to sit out. So Florida State should be pretty excited and really enthusiastic about what Caleb Mills can do in Tallahassee. So that's big news. Mills from Houston to Tallahassee to Florida State. And the Noles and the Wolfpack, they will play at the Tucker Center. It's a big game for FSU, folks. Noles need this one. I think definitely don't want to have dropped 3 of your last 4. So we'll see what the Noles do. FSU, NC State, up and down game. We'll talk to you after that, have a full episode with Bob joining us back. Until next time, Ariya Massoudi, you're listening to Tuck Talk, and appreciate you as always. Stay safe out there.